Good morning, everyone. Today we're diving into something that speaks to each of us at our very core, the idea of attracting what we truly deserve. We hear a lot about deserving things, good relationships, meaningful work, a sense of peace. But sometimes we miss the real challenge. The challenge isn't in receiving, it's in learning how to become a magnet for those things, aligning ourselves with them, making room in our lives for what we truly want. When we talk about deserving, we aren't talking about entitlement. Deserving means understanding our worth and making the choice every day to live in a way that honors that worth. Let's unpack some of the ways we can each cultivate this magnetism, moving closer to our dreams, our goals, and even our true selves. Knowing your worth is more than just feeling confident or telling yourself you're valuable. It's about taking a deeper dive into who you are and recognizing your unique qualities, strengths, and contributions in a way that goes beyond the surface. When we talk about knowing your worth deeply, it means embracing both the big achievements and the quiet, subtle qualities that make you you. It's about honoring the parts of yourself that don't always get celebrated or praised. To truly know your worth, you have to start with self-reflection. This doesn't mean looking in the mirror and listing your positive traits like you're filling out a resume. No, it means sitting with yourself in your quiet moments and asking questions that help reveal your essence. What do you value most? What are the things that make you feel alive, even when no one else is watching? What brings you a sense of pride, not because of outside validation, but because it aligns with your inner values and strengths? Knowing your worth deeply also means recognizing your imperfections and vulnerabilities as part of your strength. We are often taught that worth comes from achievement or from being flawless, but real worth is found in the entirety of who you are, the successes, the failures, the quirks, and even the insecurities. Embracing your worth means embracing all of it, not just the polished parts you'd show to others. Think about your inner qualities. Are you compassionate? Are you a good listener? Are you resilient? Sometimes these internal strengths don't always get the recognition they deserve, but they are invaluable parts of what makes you worthy. Moreover, knowing your worth deeply requires silencing the external voices that often try to define it for us. In our world, we're constantly bombarded with messages about what we should be smarter, more successful, more attractive. We absorb so many external opinions about what makes a person worthy that we sometimes lose sight of our own definitions. Knowing your worth deeply means quieting those voices and tuning into your own truth. It's a process of unlearning some of the expectations society has placed on us and choosing to see ourselves through our own eyes, not the eyes of others. When you know your worth on a deep, unshakable level, you walk differently in the world. You no longer settle for things that don't honor your value. You begin to attract people, opportunities, and experiences that resonate with who you are because you have become a powerful magnet for what aligns with your worth. This doesn't mean that you won't face challenges or setbacks. Rather, it means that your sense of self will remain steady even in the face of difficulty. You can move through the world with a quiet confidence, grounded in the understanding that you are deserving of respect, kindness, and fulfillment, not because of anything you do, but because of who you are. So take the time to know your worth, not just at the surface level, but in a way that touches the deepest parts of you. Affirm it, protect it, and let it guide the choices you make. When you know your worth deeply, you become an unstoppable force for attracting the people, opportunities, and experiences that reflect and uplift that worth. It's not an instant process, but each moment of reflection, each choice to honor yourself, is a step toward becoming a true magnet for what you deserve. Embracing vulnerability as a strength may seem counterintuitive in a world that often equates strength with invincibility, perfection, and resilience. But real strength isn't about being unbreakable. It's about being unafraid to show up as your whole, authentic self with all your imperfections, insecurities, and doubts. Vulnerability is the courage to be seen, not just as we wish we were, but as we truly are. It's about owning our fears, weaknesses, and mistakes, as well as our dreams, ambitions, and hopes. In that sense, vulnerability is the ultimate act of bravery, and it allows us to connect to ourselves and others in profoundly meaningful ways. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we open the door to genuine connection. Think about it. How often have you truly connected with someone over perfection? It's those honest, raw moments of shared vulnerability that build real, lasting bonds. When we see someone's struggles, hear their fears, or witness their challenges, we can relate and empathize because we too have our own challenges. Vulnerability invites others into our lives, showing them that they're not alone in their own experiences. This shared humanity is what makes vulnerability so powerful. It breaks down walls and allows true relationships to flourish. Vulnerability also frees us from the exhausting pursuit of perfection. Many of us feel the need to constantly have it all together, to appear as though we're thriving, even when we're barely holding on. This armor we put on may protect us from judgment or criticism, but it also holds us back from feeling truly alive. When we embrace vulnerability, we can finally take off this armor and allow ourselves to live more authentically. We no longer feel the need to prove our worthiness or to hide behind facades. Instead, we find freedom in being real, in acknowledging that we're not always okay, and that's perfectly normal. Accepting vulnerability as a strength also encourages personal growth. When we're willing to admit our struggles and ask for help, we create opportunities for learning, resilience, and transformation. Vulnerability is what drives us to step out of our comfort zones, to face the unknown, and to embrace change even when it feels uncomfortable. It allows us to admit when we don't know the answers, to take risks, and to open ourselves up to failure, all essential components of growth. In this way, vulnerability becomes the key to discovering our potential and expanding our capabilities. Furthermore, embracing vulnerability strengthens our resilience. Life will inevitably throw challenges and hardships our way. But when we're vulnerable, we build a foundation of inner strength that doesn't crumble in the face of adversity. We learn to accept our emotions, even the uncomfortable ones, and we build a deeper trust in ourselves to navigate whatever comes our way. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's the resilience to keep going, to try again, to believe in our worth, even after setbacks. This ability to embrace vulnerability is what ultimately allows us to overcome obstacles and move forward with a greater sense of purpose and clarity. One of the most powerful aspects of vulnerability is that it fosters empathy, both for ourselves and others. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we acknowledge our own humanity. We become more forgiving of our own imperfections. And in doing so, we become more compassionate toward others. We understand that everyone has their battles, that everyone feels pain and disappointment. This empathy helps us to become better friends, partners, and leaders. Vulnerability, therefore, strengthens our relationships and allows us to uplift others by being present, understanding, and supportive. Finally, embracing vulnerability teaches us the value of self-acceptance. It means choosing to accept ourselves fully, even the parts we feel aren't good enough. When we let ourselves be vulnerable, we stop waiting to be perfect before we believe in our worth. We start recognizing that our worthiness isn't tied to our achievements, our image, or our success, but simply to our existence. This kind of self-acceptance transforms how we show up in the world. We become more open to joy, love, and fulfillment because we've learned to accept and love ourselves first. So to truly embrace vulnerability is to choose a life of authenticity, courage, and connection. It's a life where we are no longer hiding or holding back, but instead stepping forward with our whole hearts. Embrace vulnerability not as a flaw, but as a powerful strength. It's a transformative force that will guide you to live more fully, connect more deeply, and attract the things you genuinely deserve. Setting boundaries is an essential yet often overlooked part of living a life that reflects your true self. Boundaries aren't walls that isolate you from others. They're clear markers that help define where you end and others begin, guiding others in understanding how to treat you. When you set boundaries that reflect your values, you create a life that aligns with what truly matters to you. This process requires self-awareness, courage, and a willingness to honor yourself even when it's difficult. Boundaries that reflect your values serve as a framework for your well-being. Think of boundaries as the framework around your life that protects your energy, your time, and your priorities. Without boundaries, we can easily become overwhelmed, taking on more than we can handle and getting pulled in directions that don't serve us. We say yes to things we don't want, feel obligated to meet everyone else's expectations, and in doing so, we can lose sight of our own needs. But when you set boundaries rooted in your values, you create a life that respects your own needs, priorities, and well-being. You begin to focus on what genuinely matters to you, allowing your actions to align with your inner compass. Setting boundaries also requires knowing yourself well. To create boundaries that truly serve you, start by identifying what's most important to you, your core values. Values are the guiding principles that shape your beliefs, behaviors, and goals. They're what you hold dear, what gives you a sense of purpose, and what makes life meaningful. For some, these values might include family, integrity, growth, creativity, or health. Take the time to reflect on your values as they're the foundation upon which your boundaries will stand. By knowing what's truly important to you, you can begin to shape boundaries that protect and uphold those priorities. Once you understand your values, it's time to translate them into actionable boundaries. This can mean saying no to requests or activities that don't align with what you find meaningful or limiting time with people who drain your energy. For instance, if one of your core values is family, you might set boundaries around work hours to ensure you have time for loved ones. Or if personal growth is important to you, you may decide to create boundaries around spending time in environments that allow you to learn and evolve. Each boundary you set serves as a reminder to honor the things you hold most dear, reinforcing a life that feels authentic to you. Communicating boundaries can be challenging, especially when we fear disappointing others or facing their disapproval. However, expressing your boundaries is essential to ensure others respect them. It's helpful to remember that boundaries are not about rejecting others, but about protecting yourself. When you communicate boundaries assertively and compassionately, you're not just stating your limits, you're inviting others to understand and honor your values. For instance, instead of saying, "I can't help you with this try, I need to reserve this time for other commitments, but here's what I can do," this approach respects your limits while still extending understanding and consideration to others. Moreover, boundaries help build healthy, balanced relationships. When you set clear boundaries, you communicate to others what you need to feel respected and valued. This mutual respect fosters trust and a deeper connection because both parties know and honor each other's limits. Without boundaries, relationships can quickly become unbalanced, with one person constantly giving and the other taking. Over time, this imbalance can lead to resentment and emotional fatigue. But with boundaries, you create relationships based on equality, where each person's needs and values are respected. The best relationships, whether personal or professional, thrive on this foundation of mutual understanding and respect. Setting boundaries that reflect your values also enhances your self-respect. Boundaries are a way of saying, "I value myself and my needs." Each time you enforce a boundary, you reinforce a message to yourself that you are worthy of respect, dignity, and care. This practice builds your self-esteem, as it shows that you prioritize yourself just as much as you prioritize others. The act of saying no to what doesn't serve you is a powerful form of self-respect. It means you no longer feel compelled to please everyone, but instead choose to honor yourself. Over time, this self-respect will strengthen your sense of identity, allowing you to live more confidently and authentically. Finally, boundaries help you conserve your energy, enabling you to direct it toward what truly matters. Life is full of demands and distractions, and without boundaries, it's easy to become depleted. But when you set limits that reflect your values, you create a buffer that protects you from burnout. You're able to devote your time and energy to people, tasks, and goals that are meaningful rather than constantly being pulled into obligations or requests that drain you. Setting boundaries is an act of self-care that allows you to focus on what you love and find fulfilling, ultimately making you more effective and satisfied in every area of life. In the end, boundaries aren't about keeping people out. They're about creating a life that honors who you are and what you value. Boundaries that reflect your values are an invitation to live a life that feels true to you, where your energy is preserved, your self-worth is respected, and your actions align with what matters most. So take the time to explore your values, set boundaries that uphold them, and communicate those boundaries with clarity and kindness. Embrace boundaries as a powerful tool for crafting a life that reflects the best of who you are. Cultivating self-compassion is the practice of treating ourselves with the same kindness, understanding, and support that we would offer to a friend facing a difficult time. In a culture that often promotes perfectionism and self-criticism as pathways to success, self-compassion is a transformative shift. It invites us to drop the harsh judgments we often hold against ourselves and instead approach our struggles with empathy. Self-compassion isn't about avoiding accountability or ignoring our mistakes. Rather, it's about meeting ourselves with understanding as we face challenges, learn, and grow. It's about recognizing that we are human, imperfect, yet worthy of love and respect. Self-compassion begins with learning to notice our inner dialogue, the constant stream of thoughts that fills our minds. For many of us, this inner voice can be surprisingly critical. It might judge us for small mistakes, call us not good enough, or compare us unfavorably to others. Over time, this self-criticism wears down our self-worth and leaves us feeling inadequate. Cultivating self-compassion means learning to soften this inner voice, replacing harsh judgments with supportive and constructive thoughts. Instead of thinking, I failed and I'm a disappointment, we might say, I tried, and while it didn't go as planned, I can learn from this experience by reframing our inner dialogue. We can create a kinder and more compassionate relationship with ourselves. One powerful way to cultivate self-compassion is to acknowledge our shared humanity. We all experience moments of hardship, disappointment, and failure. No one is immune to challenges, no matter how perfect someone's life may appear on the outside. When we face difficult moments, it's easy to feel isolated, as though we're the only ones struggling. But self-compassion reminds us that suffering is a universal human experience. Recognizing this truth allows us to feel less alone, understanding that everyone has flaws, everyone stumbles, and everyone encounters setbacks. By connecting with our shared humanity, we can meet our own struggles with more kindness, seeing them as part of the broader human experience rather than as personal shortcomings. Another vital aspect of self-compassion is the practice of forgiveness. Often we hold on to guilt, shame, or regret for things we've done in the past or for the ways we think we've fallen short. But cultivating self-compassion means learning to forgive ourselves. It's the realization that we don't have to be perfect to be worthy of love and respect. Just as we would forgive a friend for a mistake or a misstep, we must learn to extend that same grace to ourselves. Forgiveness frees us from the weight of our past mistakes and allows us to move forward with a sense of peace and hope. When we let go of self-blame, we open the door to healing and growth. Self-compassion also involves taking time for self-care and prioritizing our own well-being. Often we're quick to meet others' needs, offering them support, encouragement, and help, but neglect our own needs in the process. Cultivating self-compassion means recognizing that we deserve the same level of care and attention that we give to others. It's about making space in our lives for rest, reflection, and rejuvenation. Whether it's through practicing mindfulness, spending time in nature, or engaging in activities that bring us joy, self-care is a vital part of self-compassion. It's a way of showing ourselves that we matter, that our health and happiness are priorities. By caring for ourselves, we build resilience and ensure we have the energy and strength to navigate life's challenges. One of the most empowering aspects of self-compassion is that it allows us to take risks and grow without the constant fear of failure. When we're overly critical of ourselves, we often hesitate to step out of our comfort zones, afraid of making mistakes or looking foolish. But self-compassion gives us the courage to take chances, knowing that we'll treat ourselves kindly regardless of the outcome. It allows us to approach challenges with curiosity rather than fear, seeing setbacks as opportunities for learning instead of as proof of inadequacy. With self-compassion, we become more willing to explore, try new things, and even fail, knowing that failure doesn't define our worth. This perspective fosters growth, resilience, and a deep-seated sense of confidence. Furthermore, self-compassion enhances our relationships with others. When we're kind to ourselves, we become more empathetic and understanding toward others' struggles. We recognize that everyone is dealing with their own inner battles and that no one is perfect. This understanding makes us more forgiving, more patient, and more compassionate in our interactions. By cultivating self-compassion, we develop the capacity to hold space for others' imperfections as well, creating stronger and more supportive relationships. When we learn to love ourselves, flaws and all, we're better able to love others in the same way. Ultimately, cultivating self-compassion transforms the way we approach our lives. It means showing up for ourselves in a way that is nurturing and empowering. And self-compassion isn't a quick fix. It's a lifelong practice of choosing kindness over criticism, understanding over judgment, and growth over perfection. Each time we choose to treat ourselves with compassion, we build a foundation of inner strength that supports us through life's ups and downs. It allows us to move forward with resilience and grace, knowing that we are worthy of love and respect simply because we are human. So begin today. Practice noticing your inner dialogue and softening it with compassion. Recognize that you're not alone in your struggles. They are part of the shared human experience. Give yourself permission to forgive, to care for yourself, and to take risks without fear. Let self-compassion become your foundation, a source of strength and solace that will guide you through whatever life brings. Cultivating self-compassion is the ultimate act of self-love, one that transforms how you see yourself and empowers you to live a life filled with resilience, kindness, and fulfillment. Living in alignment with your desires means shaping your life around the things that genuinely light you up and bring you fulfillment. It's about understanding what you deeply want, not what others think you should want, and then having the courage to let those desires guide your actions, choices, and goals. Many of us spend time living lives that others have designed for us or following paths that may look good on paper but don't truly satisfy us. To live in alignment with your desires is to honor the things that are uniquely meaningful to you, creating a life that feels authentic, fulfilling, and true to who you are. The first step to living in alignment with your desires is gaining clarity on what those desires are. It's easy to get caught up in the expectations of society, family, or even past versions of ourselves. Sometimes our desires can feel obscured or tangled up with what we think we should want. Taking time to reflect and connect with yourself is essential to uncover what you truly desire. Ask yourself what activities make you lose track of time. What kind of work makes you feel purposeful and energized? What are the values that you care deeply about? Desires that align with our values and passions tend to bring us the greatest fulfillment, and spending time exploring these areas will help reveal the direction you want to move in. Once you're clear on your desires, the next step is to align your daily life and actions with those desires. It's not enough to know what you want, you have to make choices that bring those desires into reality. This may mean adjusting your routines, reassessing your commitments, or letting go of things that no longer serve you. If, for example, you desire a creative life but find yourself in a rigid, uninspiring job, living in alignment may mean setting time aside each day to work on personal projects or making moves to transition to a more fulfilling career. Living in alignment requires making space for what matters most, even if it requires sacrifice or courage. Living in alignment also means being willing to say no to things that aren't aligned with your desires. It's easy to fill our lives with activities, responsibilities, and relationships that drain us instead of energizing us. By learning to say no to what doesn't serve you, you create space for what does. This isn't always easy, especially if you're used to people pleasing or if saying yes has become a habit. But saying no is essential for creating a life that honors your desires. Each time you choose not to engage in something misaligned with your true wishes, you're reinforcing your commitment to living a life that feels authentic and fulfilling. Furthermore, living in alignment with your desires calls for a deep sense of trust in yourself. There will be moments of doubt or fear, especially when you're making choices that differ from what others expect of you. Trusting yourself means believing that you know what's best for your life, even if it doesn't align with others' ideas or the status quo. This trust empowers you to take steps toward your dreams and desires, regardless of the obstacles or uncertainty that may come your way. When you trust yourself, you're better equipped to handle setbacks and challenges as you know you're moving in a direction that truly matters to you. Living in alignment also means being present in your journey, not just focused on the destination. Often, when we think of desires, we look at them as far-off goals, achievements that will bring fulfillment once we reach them. But alignment is about bringing those desires into your daily life, even in small ways. For instance, if you desire a life of peace and mindfulness, it's not just about reaching a certain point where you feel serene all the time. It's about cultivating practices, such as meditation or time in nature, that bring peace into your daily experience. When you align with your desires in the present moment, you're already living a piece of the life you want. Fulfillment comes from how you live each day, not just from what you achieve. Moreover, living in alignment with your desires allows you to attract opportunities and people who support and resonate with your path. When you commit to what truly matters to you, others can sense that authenticity and it draws them to you. You'll naturally connect with people who share your values, your vision, and your energy. Living in alignment sends a clear message to the world about who you are and what you stand for, which attracts people and circumstances that reflect those values. This is a powerful form of magnetism. You become a person who others are inspired by because you are living your truth. Finally, living in alignment with your desires requires a willingness to adjust as you grow and evolve. Desires are not fixed, they change as we learn more about ourselves and experience new things. What you desire today may look different a year from now, and that's okay. Living in alignment is a dynamic process that calls for continuous self-reflection and adaptation. As you grow, your desires might expand or shift, and aligning with them means allowing yourself the freedom to change course as needed. Staying true to yourself isn't about rigidly clinging to one path. It's about honoring who you are and who you are in each moment and being open to the possibilities that come with growth and change. In summary, to live in alignment with your desires is to design a life that feels deeply authentic and satisfying. It's about knowing what you want, taking steps each day to bring those desires into your life, and being brave enough to stay true to yourself. This journey isn't always easy, and it often requires difficult choices and adjustments along the way. But in choosing alignment, you build a life that reflects who you truly are, a life filled with purpose, passion, and a sense of belonging to yourself. So honor your desires, trust your path, and embrace the journey of living in alignment with your deepest longings. This is the path to a life of fulfillment and joy, a life that resonates with the essence of who you are. Releasing what no longer serves you is an essential step in creating space for growth, fulfillment, and a life that aligns with your true desires. We often hold on to things, habits, relationships, routines, mindsets that once served a purpose but now weigh us down. This process of letting go is not about abandoning responsibilities or commitments. Rather, it's about making a conscious decision to clear away what drains your energy, keeps you stagnant, or prevents you from moving forward. By releasing what no longer serves you, you create room for new opportunities, experiences, and connections that genuinely resonate with who you are now. The act of release requires courage and clarity. Often, the things we hold on to feel familiar, comfortable, and even safe, even if they no longer support our growth. It could be a job that provides security but lacks purpose, a relationship that has become toxic or unfulfilling, or a mindset that limits your potential. Letting go of these things might feel daunting, especially when they're deeply rooted in your life or identity. But by clinging to them, you end up blocking the path to what could be. It takes courage to step into the unknown, to believe that something better awaits, and to trust that by releasing what no longer serves you, you're making space for something that truly will. To begin the process of release, it's essential to take a reflective inventory of your life. Ask yourself honestly what aspects of your life feel heavy or draining. What activities, people, or beliefs bring you more frustration than joy? Pay attention to areas where you feel stagnant or uninspired. These are clues pointing to things that may no longer serve you. Sometimes it's helpful to write down what comes up during this reflection. Putting it all on paper can clarify where you're investing energy that could be redirected toward more fulfilling pursuits. Being honest with yourself is the first and most important step toward letting go. One of the most challenging things to release is limiting beliefs. We all carry stories about ourselves that were shaped by past experiences, social conditioning, or even childhood memories. These beliefs can sound like I'm not good enough, I don't deserve success, or I'm too old to start over. They might feel like truths, but they are simply mental constructs that can keep you from living a life of fulfillment. To release limiting beliefs, it's essential to recognize them for what they are: stories, not facts. When you catch yourself thinking these thoughts, challenge them. Ask yourself if there's real evidence to support them or if they are just assumptions holding you back. Gradually, you can replace limiting beliefs with empowering ones, paving the way for a more expansive life. In addition to letting go of beliefs, we often need to release relationships that no longer serve us. This can be one of the hardest forms of release because relationships are so deeply intertwined with our emotions and sense of belonging. However, some connections can become toxic, unbalanced, or simply outgrown. Relationships that drain you, make you feel small, or are built on judgment rather than support are ones to reconsider. Releasing these relationships doesn't mean cutting ties in anger or bitterness. It's about choosing to prioritize your well-being. Sometimes this means setting boundaries or gradually stepping back to allow yourself space to grow. When you let go of relationships that no longer serve you, you open up space for connections that support and inspire you. Releasing what no longer serves you also means letting go of habits and routines that keep you from reaching your potential. Maybe you have routines that once provided structure but now feel restrictive. It could be a habit of procrastination, staying up too late, or spending too much time on social media. These behaviors, though comforting, may prevent you from achieving your goals. Identifying habits that are misaligned with your current aspirations is the first step. Once identified, replace them with habits that are empowering and supportive. For example, if a habit of overthinking keeps you stuck, you might develop a practice of mindfulness or journaling to help you gain clarity and release anxiety. Letting go of these habits requires self-discipline and persistence, but the freedom you gain is well worth it. Another essential aspect of release is embracing forgiveness. Holding on to past grudges, regrets, or guilt serves no positive purpose and weighs heavily on the heart. Forgiveness is not about condoning hurtful behavior or excusing wrongdoings. Instead, it's about freeing yourself from the emotional burden of carrying resentment or self-blame. When we forgive, we release ourselves from the grip of the past and create space for healing and new possibilities. This includes forgiving others as well as ourselves. By letting go of resentment or guilt, we make room for compassion, joy, and peace in our lives. Forgiveness is an act of self-liberation that allows you to step forward without the weight of the past holding you back. Finally, releasing what no longer serves you is an ongoing process. As you grow and evolve, you may find that certain things you once valued no longer resonate. This is normal and natural. Releasing is not a one-time act, it's a continual practice of assessing and adjusting. Life will always present new opportunities for growth, and with each new chapter, you may need to let go of something from the past. Embrace this process with openness and acceptance, knowing that each act of release brings you closer to your true self and the life you desire. Living a life aligned with your highest values and deepest desires requires an ongoing commitment to letting go. By releasing what no longer serves you, you make space for new possibilities, new growth, and a renewed sense of purpose. You allow yourself to shed the weight of the past, freeing yourself to move forward with clarity and intention. Embrace the power of release. Let go of what weighs you down and step confidently into the life you are meant to lead, one filled with purpose, joy, and alignment with your true self. In becoming a magnet for what you deserve, you're not simply attracting things into your life, you're creating a life that reflects your worth, values, and deepest desires. This journey is about knowing your worth deeply, not superficially, but from a place of unwavering self-respect and understanding. It's about embracing vulnerability as a strength, a gateway to authentic connection and courage. By setting boundaries that honor your values, you send a message to the world about how you deserve to be treated, while cultivating self-compassion reminds you that you are worthy of kindness and patience, even from yourself. Living in alignment with your desires means stepping into a life that is true to who you are, free of the expectations of others, and rich with purpose. And finally, releasing what no longer serves you is the courageous act of making space for what truly belongs. It's the act of trusting that by letting go, you're inviting in opportunities, people, and experiences that support your growth and fulfillment. This path is not always easy. It calls for clarity, courage, and a commitment to honoring your authentic self. But as you step into this journey, you become a beacon for the life you truly deserve, a life filled with joy, love, purpose, and peace. Embrace this journey with openness and faith, knowing that you have the power to create a life that feels deeply, powerfully, and authentically yours.